here today for lawnfawn and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a card to share with you all, and the main stamp set I'm going to be using is the new Den Sweet Den. Super cute set with all these little bears and a few little decorative images as well. Alongside this stamp set I'm also going to be pulling in a die set. It's the Waving Pull Tab Starter Set, and I'm going to be just using it for its pull tab feature today. You could additionally use the Let's Toast pull tab add-on set, but since this is new I thought I would use this one since it works in a very similar way. Obviously it does have dual use though. You can use it for a little waving card, but I won't be doing that today. And then alongside this die set I'm also going to be using the You're Just My Type stamp set. It comes with a really cute desk in it, and I thought it would be perfect to match with that Den Sweet Den stamp set. As well as those stamps and dies, I'm also going to be using some paper. So I have the Neutrals woodgrain paper here, and I'm going to be using that dark brown. And then I'm also going to be using the Into the Woods Remix 12x12 pack. I voted for the 12x12 over the 6x6 just because I wanted these stripes to be thicker. And so you can see the difference here. I just really wanted the thicker stripes, which is why I opted for the 12x12, but you could use any, just the patterns on the 12x12 are a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start off by stamping out all of my images. So I'm using a few of the bears from this Den Sweet Den. I'm also using the photo frame and the lamp and the stack of books, as well as the book that the bear is holding. And then I also pulled the desk from the other stamp set as well. I'm just inking these up using some jet black ink, stamping them down, and I'm going to set them off to the side to colour in a little bit later. I also use my MISTI stamping tool just to get a good impression. I'm going to set that off to the side while I work on the interactive portion of this card today. So I started off with cutting down some cardstock. I created a top folding card base out of just some plain white. I also cut down this striped pattern to be the front of my card base, and I also cut a tiny little strip of that wood grain brown cardstock to represent the floor. So I just went ahead and cut those out, even though that brown piece is a little bit wide at the moment. I'll cut it down a little bit later. And now I've got my dies here, the Waving Pull Tab set, and I'm just going to cut them apart and start to arrange how these are going to work on my card. So I have the little pull tab piece at the top that cuts out the little notch, and I'm just lining that up to line up with how I'm going to fit the gift card behind the entire panel. So I've just laid it down and I'm just working out the sizing and the layout to make sure it all fits together. Once I figured out placement, I went ahead and cut the little notch piece out of the top of the card, and I also cut the pull tab pieces out of white and this little arrow piece out of the same wood grain brown to tie it in from the top to the bottom. And I'm just going to adhere these into place just temporarily using some washi tape so I can figure out where to add the foam tape on the back of the card. Once that's taped down on the front, I'm going to tape onto the back as well and line it up where the pull tab piece is going to be pulled up and down. Once I've gone ahead and placed that in, I'm going to grab my gift card and just place it down approximately where it's going to be able to be put at the back so I don't adhere it down accidentally. And I'm going to go ahead and then once I have the placement correct, I'm going to place foam tape all around just like so. And this is purely because you need to leave wherever that gift card is going to be blank so it doesn't get caught on anything. Once the back of the card has all adhesive on it, I'm just going to work on the other sections. So there's this little white piece that has score lines already on it, and I'm just going to fold along those score lines on top of each other, and this is going to create like a little border so the pull tab can be pulled up and down straight and it not sway from side to side. So it's just going to hold that pull tab piece in place while you pull the gift card up and push it back down as well. So I'm just adding adhesive onto the little flap and I'm wrapping it around the pull tab slider piece, and then using some glue tube adhesive and adding a little bit of liquid glue onto this die cut piece out of the brown. So this is a little arrow piece that I'm just going to stick on top just so it indicates to the recipient to pull up on this piece so they know that there's something secret and hidden behind there. Once that's adhered all down into place, I'm going to adhere just that little border piece that I was folding before, and I'm just going to adhere that down onto the card base because I want that piece to be adhered onto the card base so the gift card can sit on top. I have my white card base here and I'm just lining up my background, and then I'm going to take a pencil and just wiggle this coloured paper piece from left to right just to mark some little lines where that border piece is going to go. I'm then going to take a scrap piece of cardstock and just draw a pencil line next to them since I don't know where my ruler is right now. Once I have those lines drawn, I'm going to adhere this into place. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive onto that border piece, not onto the pull tab mechanism at all, because you don't want that piece to stick, you want it to be able to move freely. So once I go ahead and add adhesive onto the back of this piece, I'm going to peel off the backers, line up the top of the brown piece with the score line of the card base, or the card fold rather, and adhere it down into place. Once I've gone ahead and done that, basically it's all ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and test to make sure that it works properly, it all lines up, and you can see that that piece pulls up and down easily. Once that's gone ahead and it's all working, I'm going to take the gift card and add a tiny little bit of foam tape onto the pull tab mechanism, and just a little square so it's easy to pull off once someone pulls the gift card up, and just adhere that tiny little square at the very top since that's the only place that it can be adhered on the card, but it's going to stay there pretty well, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think that adhesive is all that it needs to stay there. I'm then going to remove the backers off this foam tape and adhere it onto that card base and cut off any of the white extra pieces that are hanging over the side. I'm just going to test this pull tab one more time and it works perfectly. I was very excited that it worked nicely and it slides up and down really easily, which is good. Now that I know the interactive portion of this card works well, I'm going to finish decorating the card base. So I have that wood grain cardstock piece that I had earlier. I just cut it down to size, added some adhesive onto the back, and adhered it down at the bottom of the card. Now my card base is all completed. It's time to colour in all of my images. So I'm going to be using Copic markers for this. They're just my favourite to colour in with, and they're really easy to use. So I'm using some E50s for the desk. So I'm using E59, E57, E55 and E53. And for the table legs and around the drawers and the tabletop, I'm going to be starting using the darkest colour at the top of those areas. And then for the drawers, I use the exact same colours, but use the darker areas at the bottom, just so it would look a little bit different rather than all be coloured in the same colour, even though it is. With the different shading, it appears a little bit differently, which is super nice. I then have the big bear, and I'm going to use some E40s on him. I'm using the dark E40s on him first, so I'm using E49, E47, E44 and E43 to colour him in first. I'm then going to use more E40s to colour in the little baby cubs. And I used E44, E43, E42 and E41. And I'm just colouring in those little guys in as well. So I really wanted to keep all of the browns for the bears in like the same family, which is why I'm sticking with the E40s. But I'm just using different markers in that collection to have the darker tones and have the lighter tones as well. And then for their little noses or their mouthpieces, I just used E42, E41 and E40 for those to make them even lighter. Then for my colour choices, I pulled in colours from the patterned paper. So I'm using some greens first. I'm using YG67, YG17, YG03 and YG01. I then use some lighter blues for the inside of the frame. I use some teals for one of the books. I'm now using some oranges for a book and the outside cover of another book as well, using YR09, YR18, YR12 and Y32. I changed that yellow at the last minute to make it fit a little bit better. And then I used a white gel pen to add some highlights to each of the images. I did go a little bit overboard, but I think it really brings the images to life. And then for a final touch, I also added some blush on the cheeks as well. I then cut them all out, and now I'm arranging my scene on my card to make sure that they all fit in the way that I kind of envisioned. So I'm adding in a little book into the bear's hands here, and I arranged the desk with the lamp and the picture frame above, like it's hanging on the wall, since I chose this pattern paper to sort of appear like wallpaper. I'm just going to place these little bear cubs at the bottom somewhere and add the books behind them as well. And I really liked how this layout was going, so I went ahead and added foam tape onto the back of everything, and adhered it down into place. So now everything is adhered down into place, it's time to work on the sentiment, just making sure everything still works again. And it does. I really like the layout of this card, it's looking really cute. Now I just need a sentiment. So I used the sentiment, "Your top's in my book." I just thought that was super adorable, and I just went ahead and white heat embossed that on the same brown wood grain cardstock. I just flipped it over to make sure that I was stamping on the smooth side, cut it at a bit of an angle and added it onto the left hand side just with a little bit of overhang, and added a twine bow onto the sentiment as well, just for some added texture. I do this on like 90% of my cards and I just really like the way it looks. Here is the pull tab slider in action once again, and I really like how this card turned out. So that finishes up my card for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed. I'm absolutely loving this new release. I just think it's so super adorable and I can't wait to play with it some more. All of the supplies that I did use will be linked down below and linked over at the blog. And I will catch you all next time. Thank you so much for stopping by today.